Hey everybody, it's Andre from the Eaglesoft Field Guide, and I'm here with a old friend. Hey, it's
Hey,
Melissa from Vienna Family Dentistry, and we've got to spend some time together in the office, and we've done a couple of these calls too. So it's good to see you
yeah.
again.
Good to see you too. Thanks.
Cool. So we're going to talk a little bit today about fee schedules, coverage books, service types, and obviously the employers, how we connect them. Tell me what you kind of struggle with. What kinds of things work in your office? What doesn't work, and how what can this conversation today help other people with?
Um, I just think that I felt like a light came down from heaven once we were able to get Eaglesoft and actually have fee schedules because we never had those before the software and had to do like line by line adjustments all the time. And it was just so time consuming and just so many windows for error. And I'm just loving coverage books and fee schedules because they can really help you pinpoint your coverage for your patients and not only give them the correct estimates, but also make you more efficient with everything that you're trying to do within the software. So I
Yeah.
love
And so everybody knows what percentage of your patients have a preferred provider plan, like in-network plan?
we are very heavy insurance based. We have about 80% of our patients have insurance, and of those 80%, 70% are Delta Dental Premier, and that's the only program that we're in participation with.
Okay.
We have maybe a small percentage of Blue Cross, and we just do that as a Blue Car Select per claim participation.
Good. Okay. Well, and that's great because a lot of the offices that are in the field guide are, they have a mix of this and that and the other thing. And it's good
Yeah.
that that as we talk about this, you'll be able to understand. So, one of the things I always talk about when I do fee schedules is under list and fee schedules. Really, the only thing that you should have, an office should have in fee schedules are those plans that you are, like you said, Delta in network with, where you have a very definitive schedule of fee schedule that you
Right.
actually are allowed, quote unquote, to charge. I mean, and I always have to put everything in insurance in air quotes, but so like for you, Delta Dental Premier, and you can see, I always put in my fee schedule the last time I updated my fee schedule. That way,
Okay.
when I'm looking at it, I know that this hasn't been updated since January of 19. Well, we know also Delta doesn't change that often, right?
It's been 8 years.
Oh, geez. So it's,
Yeah.
it's funny because I want to see the last time somebody's actually done the hard work to update these fee schedules. And like most people know right off the top of your head, this is the last time Delta's been updated, you know. And I use these dates almost like the expiration date on milk. I want to be able to see, is this still viable for what I'm doing today? All right. And in my Delta Dental Premier fee schedule, all right, I'm going to see all of the allowable fees in this column. So this is the office fee and this is the allowable fee by insurance. All right.
Mhm.
One cool thing is, it's funny. I go to offices and I'm looking through this list, and sometimes I'll see something like, here's a first PA, and our fee is $24. And over here, I'll see that the allowable fee is like $26.
Right.
And I go, are you kidding me? You're charging less than what you're allowed to charge. So this is a good way to kind of look through and actually see what each insurance pays as you go through this process. I'm going to show you some. I don't know if you know this. I'm going to show you something. Get out of this. Get out of this. I'm going to go to my list, and I'm going to go to my service codes, and I'm going to go down to the same code I was in, D0220, and edit that intraoral PA. And if you look over here to fee schedules, did you know this was here? Fee schedules, and I
I
can see
did.
what every single insurance pays on a PA.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is a great way of seeing, are you out of line with other insurance companies? What's, what the highest payment by insurance? And you have to do this by code, but
Mhm.
it's a great way. If you were wondering, who pays the most on a crown, who pays the most on a filling, this is a great tool to be able to take a look and see what each one pays.
For sure.
Cool. All right, so let me get back out of here and let's get back to our fee schedules. List. Fee schedules. Okay. So, and for you, I would assume you just have the one fee schedule in here for Delta Dental
We have Delta Dental, Blue Cross,
and
and
Blue Cross.
we do see some healthy kids just because Dr. Seen having 5 kids has a soft spot for them. So we do see healthy kids in our practice.
And healthy kids in your state is the equivalent of Medicaid.
Equivalent of Medicaid, yes. We have not a large percentage of kids, but we do take them.
Yep. And yeah, and there's my Medicaid fee schedule, which would be your health and choice fee schedule. Yep, same idea. And you know, the beauty of fee schedules is, like you said, it makes it so much easier to get an accurate measurement of what the patient's co-payment is without having to do all these line item adjustments after the fact.
Right. And seeing your actual production on your schedule too, instead of having false numbers because you're never collecting that money. So
yeah. It's funny. People say, "Oh yeah, I do $5 million a year," and then you say, "Okay, what's that after adjustments?" And they're like,
right, exactly. You don't want to know.
Exactly. It's like getting your paycheck without having the taxes taken out of it, you know?
Right.
Now, when it comes to coverage books, you've created coverage books for your out-of-network plans.
Yes, and even within our Delta plans, for alternate benefit of posterior for composites and for posterior porcelain on crowns.
Yeah. So, and that's good. So you're finding some plans where the posterior crowns that will only be covered for a PFM and not for an all-ceramic crown.
Right.
Good. So, and again, that's what I typically tell offices to do is, you know, a coverage book under an in-network plan should really only include 4 codes, meaning you know, 1, 2, and 3, 4 surface composites, and then those things like that where it's a downgrade. So that's awesome. I'm glad you're finding that works for you. All right. So let's talk coverage books. And we're talking out-of-network coverage books or coverage books that you use for trying to get some clarity with some of the other plans. Tell me what you kind of see and what works best for you when you look at your coverage books.
Just updating them as we're entering payments is the biggest thing that I see is helpful, because we were wrong this time, but we're not going to be wrong hopefully next time. So that's what makes it better.
And there's nothing. And how long have you guys been using Eaglesoft?
For about 15 years now, I think.
Yeah. And how long do you think you've gotten this kind of stuff under control?
It's been a while. I mean, I've been the insurance coordinator that whole time. So it's just been constantly updating, changing. And as I'm learning more too, I mean, we used to only have just a certain number of service types. And I was trying to make so many coverage book allowances for things that were covered under different classes. But then once we updated our service types, then that was another light shining down from heaven moment for me. So that made it really good too.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, you know, it's so funny. I used Eaglesoft for such a long time. And then when I realized that I was doing all this work, making calls to insurances, and maybe people don't know what we're talking about. So we, you know, under the employer, you know, we create these employers and then we get the benefit breakdowns. And we have things like posterior resins, and we have things like posterior crowns, or we have night guards, but we have it on paper and then there's no place to put it in the system. Mm-hmm. So then we have to do all these special coverage books and all kinds of other crazy ways of explaining things, where if you could just split out the service types a little further, then you can even have better estimations on something like the difference between an occlusal guard or a sleep guard. You know, maybe they cover occlusal guards, but they don't cover sleep guards. So we can have categories of services there. So we don't even have to have some special code. I mean, some special coverage book for those things. And coverage books are like if you plant the best lawn in the whole world, you're going to get weeds.
Yes.
You know, so no matter what you do with a coverage book, you're constantly weeding it. You're constantly updating it, constantly doing this, where if you have these other parameters, meaning service types, you can actually get to the point where you don't need to have a code. I mean, a payment for a code. You can just have a percentage.
Right. And that's a great place to get to.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So back to our conversation about coverage. I can get there from the back door here. Let's go back to coverage books and let's just take this typical PPO downgrade composite. And this is probably kind of what yours looks like. It's just the 4 composite codes plus the crowns, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So, you know, each office has to address this as they go. And you know, one of the things I tell offices with coverage books, I don't know if you'll back me on this, but you know, if somebody says, I don't really trust the coverage books I have, I typically say, well, just delete them and start again.
Right. Just start from scratch. Yeah. Because there's so many codes, you're not going to be able to catch every single one. I would just start from scratch and go from there.
Yeah. And it's like, if you don't trust it, you know, like if you get in your car, you don't trust the brakes, you don't still go, I'll just get on the highway anyway.
Right. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I got airbags. It's no big deal. Yeah. So I always tell people, you know what, do do the best thing that you know, which is just delete it, start all over again, put the date after it, and know that that one's correct. And you, like you said, start using your EOBs to put these things in as you go. I think that's a fantastic tool, is to use your EOBs to do it.
I think so too.
Yeah. So what other kinds of things do you find that really help you with, and as the insurance coordinator, what helps you to make sure that, and this is what I tease, but this is really my goal as somebody who does the insurance, is to never let the doctors leave their operatory to come asking me questions about benefit breakdown. That's my goal as an insurance coordinator. How about you?
Well, that and we switched from like using every letter of the alphabet for every single ADA code. We had 5 different letter codes for a porcelain crown. And finally we had to come to Jesus meeting. I'm like, you know what, we're just going to know the ADA codes, and you're having a 2740 because that's a 2740. It doesn't have to be a PCC, PCCC, PCCR, PPP, PPCC for your porcelain ceramic crown. It was just crazy. So too many letters. And now they bother me for codes. What's the code for? Look it up.
Well, when I come in the next time, we'll work on doing the quick picks, so they don't have to ask that. They should just be able to click the quick picks and be able to pull those things up. But that, yeah, it's crazy because it's funny, that line in the sand where the front typically knows codes and the back knows the service descriptions, and we have to figure out how to better clarify that so everybody's on the same page, and that really makes a big difference in in doing this. So cool. So what other tips and tricks can you give some of those folks who, because there's been a lot of people who've just joined the front office after COVID sort of hit.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the tips that you would give some of the new to insurance coordinating position?
Oh, wow. Where do you start? I think having less hands in the pot is key, because if you can get your head around how a coverage book works and setting it up, so if you know that the allowed fee is 108 and they're paying 80% of that, if you can make a coverage book for that for your out-of-network plans, it's a hard concept for people to wrap their head around. And even when I try to explain to someone how to do it, they're like, that doesn't make any sense. So
let's do one. I'm glad you said that. Let's do that. Let's do a new one, and I'm going to call this school district out of network plan. I know this is not the way we typically do it, but just so as an example. So for a D2740, all right, our fee, I think is $850 in my office. All right, so $850. All right, and they pay a percentage, which is 50%, right? So that's how a typical setup would be. But we know that their allowance is really not $850, right?
Right.
There you go. So they allow for $600, even though we're out of network. We're going to show that out of $600, they still pay 50%. So they're going to send us less the deductible. They're going to send us $300, and the patient's responsible for the difference.
Yes, and one thing that I've run across in other offices that I've talked to is they'll put dollar amount and they'll put $300 in there. Well, no, never do that, because the deductible can't apply itself. If you're saying it's going to cover this dollar amount, the computer won't be able to take the deductible away.
Yep.
So then they're like, well, I put it in there and it's going to pay $300. Well, no, it's not, because they have a $50 deductible. So you're going to get less. And so that's another big tip, is to, unless the dollar amount is zero, or I would say stay away from using amount whenever possible and just use percentage.
Yeah. And it wasn't until 2005 that I knew that. It was the funniest thing. I can tell you that I can almost tell you the date I learned that. And one of the Patterson technology advisors told me that using Eaglesoft for years, I would always do the dollar amount because I wanted it to be exactly the dollar amount, and didn't realize that it was ignoring the deductible. So,
not to toot my own horn, but I was at an Eaglesoft conference when I was contradicting the trainer that was giving. And she's like, well, no, I'm like, well, no, it's not. So yeah, that was a long time ago, but it was.
Yeah. I love people like that in the audiences that when I do presentations, I love people because, sometimes I'll go back to my computer and go, let's try that, and go, wow, you're right. I learn something new every day, and it just expands what I do. So, hey, I'm open to people. I love hecklers in my audience. Yeah.
I'll
But
gladly
that's,
heckle anytime.
hey, there you go. Okay, I'll put you in the front row. So this is,
Right.
the typical setup, and yes, we're going to do this over and over again. But one of the things that we learned, and you made a point of this, we add to these coverage books as we find the information, as we get the
Mhm.
EOBs back. Let's just keep working on it, get it to the point where you see it and it works for your office, and it becomes clear that as you do this, you're going to get better and better and better. And we typically see the same patients from the same employers over and over and over again. So
Right.
it works out better that way.
And something else that helped us when our coverage books were getting set up, Mary Horvath was actually out helping us with our initial training, and she's a godsend.
Yeah.
And for Delta, because we're so heavily Delta, just a heavy Delta practice, we had just generic coverage books set up, and it was like Delta 90/90 if they covered posterior composites at 90 and crowns at 90, and Delta 90/50. And then it was just easy to just save the coverage book as a new one, and all of your codes are still in there. You just have to mess with your percentages to save time instead of having to reinvent the wheel every time you have a new coverage book that you need to set up for an employer that you're familiar with, or a company that you're familiar with.
Exactly. Let's edit this and show people we're talking about. So right there, save as new, and it will allow you to use an existing coverage book to create a new name for it. And that's a fantastic tip. But Mary is the queen.
Yes, she is. Shout out to Mary.
Yep. So, the coverage books are a tool that once used, we should be able to get, and this is, again, one of my ultimate goals in every office I go to, get rid of those books of fee schedules that we see on the walls of all the offices. You should not be using a calculator and a book to do something that your Eaglesoft software can do in seconds, and do it consistently. Even if you have the day off, somebody else is going to sit there at your desk and do what and do that walkout and make sure that it works out exactly the way it should.
Right. And you need to be able to trust your software too. And there's another office that I was speaking with their front desk, and they have 2 monitors at their front desk. And every time they come up and they have a Delta patient, they don't enter the treatment in Eaglesoft. They do a pre-D on the toolkit, and the patient's sitting there while they're entering all those codes, and they're waiting for the toolkit to tell them what the treatment estimate's going to be, when you can just put it in your software and know what it, even at walkout too, they put it in there for the claim, and then, okay, your copay for today is $5.20. Well, if your software could have told you that in probably 3 seconds.
Wow. And the crazy thing is that means also that more than likely their walkout statement, their receipt, doesn't match what they were told.
Right.
And we all have been to a grocery store or Target, and somebody's saying, you're saying, well, the register said $9.95 and my receipt's saying $11.20. Which one's right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, don't worry about it. It'll work out in the end. No.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
No, that doesn't work for me. So yeah, I'm glad you said that. Yeah, there is no reason to be using anything other than the software. You're doing the hard work of putting the information in the computer the first time.
Right.
And again, we have the same employers, the same patients over and over again. It's duplicatable once we do it the first time, right?
Exactly.
So what other things would you like to tell folks about making it better with Eaglesoft and in the areas we were talking about?
Oh goodness. I wasn't prepared for that question.
What's your favorite? What are some of your favorite tools?
I mean, besides the fee schedules and coverage books, I really like the reports in Eaglesoft as far as being able to figure out your managed care production. Like for how much did we write off this month with Delta, it's really easy to find out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's show people that. That is the managed care utilization report. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, and it's just easy if the doctor wants to know, like, how much did I write off? How much is it costing me to be with Delta? And you can tell them easily.
Oh, let me get a better date range. I just put today. Let's do this year. Let's see if that gives me some information. Nope, I only have one thing this week, but let's go further out. There you go. So I charged out, my standard fee was $748, and my fee chart, I have ortho in there. I have an ortho fee. But if you knock off the $3,000, I mean, you can really see how you can tell your standard fee versus, so just that first line, you can see what our standard fee was and what we actually charged out to the patient. So you can actually get an idea based on the insurance company. And this is a bad example, but you can see based on each fee schedule. So there's my Delta PPO. I could see each fee schedule, what's going to be charged out and what was the write-off for the most part.
Right. Another thing I like to use is the daily fee exception report, because every once in a while the doctor will say, I want to do these bite wings at no charge or something at a reduced fee for a patient. And because we have our system, as everybody should have their system set up to bill the standard fee on insurance claims, if I don't get that information prior to the claim going out, then the incorrect information is going out to the insurance company. So I always take a peek at that report before I send my claims, just to see if there is anything that I need to change or correct before the claim goes out.
Yep, and you can see it right there. So the difference between what my standard fee is and what I charge was $6,000. That's a whole lot. Again, it was I test my system a whole lot. So yeah, but that's a fantastic tool. And a lot of people are always saying, how can I do some audits in my office? How can I look at some reports? And it doesn't need to be a daily thing for some of these big reports, but it should be something that as an insurance coordinator, we look at, as the financial coordinator, we look at, as the managing owner should be looking at. These are the kind of reports that we run to be able to find out, is something going on? Is somebody doing something properly? And again, one of the things that offices who aren't using coverage books and fee schedules are doing is they're running production, collection, and adjustments. And those adjustments could be just about anything. It could be fee exceptions, but when we're using fee schedules and coverage books, really the only thing we're adjusting should show up on the managed care utilization report. And anything else that falls into adjustments are, I call them the adjustment reconciliation is really like the whoops report. That really should be the only time that something shows up on adjustments, is where we made some sort of mistake and we had to back it out or do some changes there. So this is a fantastic tool. Yep, I agree with you.
Yeah, that makes your adjustments report really clear and concise too, and you don't have to be looking through pages and pages of $3 write-off for an exam or something. So yeah, it makes it
exactly. Yeah, because if we're out of network, there really, in theory, should be nothing on that adjustment report. Except, like you said, a fee adjustment where we did something for, our favorite Mrs. Jones patient,
Yes.
Yeah.
We want to be nice to her. Or if it treatment changed from a 3 surface to a 4 and he wants to honor the 3 surface fee, just things like that. So
yeah, somebody sent me a 12-page report, and they had this really big adjustment, and they were wondering what was going on. Is because they did not make their treatment plan. They didn't update their treatment plan fees when they did a fee increase, and now they're making all these adjustments. And that exactly what you just talked about is where they saw a huge amount of adjustments in that first month after they made that change. So
how do you best handle that? Like, we usually have a fee increase, and I do that after we do our end of year. And I update the on-schedule fees and the treatment plan fees, just because we want going forward to charge the new fee. We honor our fees within 90 days. And that's just something that we kind of cross that bridge as we come to it. Like, if the patient says, well, I thought you told me my copay was X amount of dollars and now it's, $4 or $5 more. We always just say, oh, no problem, we had a fee change and we're good to go.
That's exactly what I do. And what I do is when I make my fee schedule, when I change my fees, I use the fee schedule utility. And then I put a reminder in my schedule for 90 days later. So when I do it, I don't update treatment plans. So January 1, I don't update treatment plans. I set a reminder, and in 90 days, I come back and I say, update my fees by 0%, but now include treatment plans. So I get 90 days.
Another aha moment.
There you go.
I was today years old when I learned that. That's awesome. Yep. All right, so I will do that from now on, because that'll make things a lot easier instead of having discrepancies, because we don't like that when a patient comes up and we're telling them something different than what we told them 2 months ago. So,
right. And again, that way I can avoid some of those adjustments. Now, somebody might come in 91 days later and we're going to honor the price.
Right.
But for the most part, this is a great way to update everything. And it's really important that everybody updates their on-schedule fees, because if you do an update January 1, on January 2nd, nothing's going to be right. That's already been added to the schedule.
Right. So I'm just trying to clarify for myself. Sure. when you update the on-schedule fees and do not update the treatment plan fees, so does that mean like all of our hygiene visits that are proposed but not on a treatment plan, but attached to an appointment, or not?
Well, no, if they're all, this would only update those hygiene appointments that are actually scheduled. Yeah.
Oh, good. That's what I want it to do. So update everything that's already scheduled, but not update the treatment plans until 90 days later.
Exactly.
Perfect. I'm going to definitely do that this year.
Yeah. And really, really, really important, make sure everybody is rounding to the dollar. I can't, it's just my OCD. It drives me nuts when I see pennies in there. So,
yeah, me too. I can't.
Fantastic tool. You know, and when it comes to service types, make sure you're updating everything. Don't just update your restorative fees, you know, update everything if you can. So,
that's
that's a fantastic tool.
Yeah, I'm so happy to know that now. Good.
Yesterday, I had a long conversation about bulk insurance payments. Is that something you use in the office too?
I've tried before, and I think it's a great tool. We have, again, with Delta, we have so many of our patients that have dual Delta, and they process both claims on the same bulk payment, but I can't apply that bulk payment when the claim hasn't been submitted yet. So just for me, it's cleaner. And also because I'm the only one doing the insurance entry, I do my own numbers. I make sure that I match before I complete my work at the end of the day. So it's not anybody's problem at the front but mine if something doesn't match, and I don't ever leave it where it's not matched. So
yeah, it's funny, you know, each of the insurance companies is different. Like you said, Delta Dental will do coordination of benefits within. So yeah, it is interesting when you have those kinds of issues and you can't use a tool in the software the same way everybody else can. So
yeah, it's just hard. And then there's like, you know, 100 and some names in there, and you're trying to like scroll through and find who you're trying to apply your payment to. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a great tool. It's just, I'm still trying to figure out a way to make it fit for us.
Yeah, with the dual deltas, it's tough. It really is. It's you know, and again, because there's no open claim for the secondary, so yeah, it's a tough one. So let's talk. Go ahead.
Go ahead. And dual delta is hard for if they're non-duplicating too, just because the software can't quite get that figured out for us, so we have to manually do that. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. So yeah.
And you know, thank God they actually pay both. You know? So,
right, exactly.
Even, no matter what, as long as they wind up paying both of them, we're okay with that. So
yeah.
Do you have a suggestion? Because I know it comes up all the time for a way that the employer notes your sort of frequencies. What do you do for frequencies?
For our Delta, I just go right to their website, and when it comes to coverages, I highlight the entire thing and copy and paste it. That way it's the same it's the same information, and Delta lays it out the same way.
Yep.
For our non-Delta, I just kind of start typing. I should have a better way of doing that. I'm like, okay, cleanings and exams twice a year, perio maintenance 3 times per year, and I just kind of give the hygienists their information at the top so they don't have to read through so much, and then like the doctor stipulations below.
And that's probably the same format I'm using. You see my hygiene things are at the top, and then it goes down from there.
And one of the things that I learned from another trainer was in the notes to put started out with putting the maximum and deductible and renewal date. That way, when you're looking under the insurance umbrella window, if under the account screen, when you click on the little umbrella, because it'll tell you that they have, you know, $600 remaining. Well, that's great, but I don't know what their max is and when it renews. So if that's awesome. Fine, you'll always have that available to you without having to look somewhere else in the system.
Let me show people what we're talking about, just in case they don't know. And I don't even know if I have it. I think I may have had it hidden on here. Where is my umbrella? Customize.
I needed mine outside this morning. It was raining when I got here today.
Oh, there it is.
Yep.
Insurance info. So we're talking about clicking there, and then you're highlighted in blue is where your notes would be, right?
Yep.
There you go. That's fantastic. Yeah, it's funny because this information is here, and there is an insurance information drop down here, but you don't get the same notes field.
I just found that button last week. I was amazed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
Yeah. I remember when this was added, I think it was version 16 or 18. I can't remember exactly, but I was like, oh, this is so great. But my notes aren't there.
Right. And I'm loving that, because sometimes when you're looking under the insurance umbrella, it'll say the patient has secondary insurance. Well, great. I can't see it, but this is a window where you can see it. So that makes me happy.
Yep. It's awesome. And
Mhm.
I think you can, no, maybe I'm wrong. I thought there was a way you can detach it, but maybe that's not the one. I forget it. All right. So that's, now you're, it's bothering me that this doesn't have a name under it. There it goes. I'm going to keep that on my demo. Yeah, there it goes.
Right.
Awesome.
So funny.
Yeah, it's once, oh, you said something earlier and I wanted to come back to it, about making sure there's like, not multiple hands in the pot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge proponent of going through my security profiles and actually going into my practice management users and removing the ability to add new insurance companies.
Yes. Alleluia. Do not let anybody do that except the insurance coordinator or one designated person in the office.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, there aren't any new insurance companies. There hasn't been in the
No.
last 10 years, and the last things that happened was, Metropolitan changed to MetLife. I mean, big deal.
Right.
But really, there should be one person who manages that. And if we need to add a new insurance company, it should be something where you need to call in management to do it. So I go through my practice management users profile and actually go through and put a red check box next to add new insurance companies.
Yes.
I've done this in offices where I've actually removed the ability to add new employers under, a limited practice management user. So sometimes we have people who are receptionists or whatever who don't actually create employers, and I'll do that same format there. So
right, because there's a lot to adding an employer, and if you don't have all of your boxes checked the right way, you're not going to get the right information out of the system. So yeah, nobody does that but me.
Awesome. Yeah, and you're like me. It's like it's like a mother hen. You gotta.
Oh yeah, totally. Like it's all mine. Don't
leave my stuff
alone. Yeah, they'll just leave me a note. This needs to be added. They don't even try.
Awesome. So, any other tips that you could think of? We got another like a couple minutes, and we can wrap up. But any other tips that you could think of?
Well, because we don't use bulk insurance when entering payments, I mean, everyone should know that's a great place to update your coverage book items, and you can enter your payments line by line. So that way all of your information is correct. If you want to see in your ledger, like what did they pay exactly on that crown or on that, if you have multiple service items on one claim, you want to make sure that you can break it down easily for the patient if they have questions on their bills, and not just let the computer automatically distribute it, do it yourself. So that way you are putting the right information in.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time, and people think I'm crazy about this. I don't think in the last year that I was working in a dental office, actually full-time working in a dental office, I don't think I ever looked at an EOB after the fact. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that in Eaglesoft, I can right click on a insurance payment, see my distribution here.
Yes.
And then if there was any denial or anything that happened funny within that process, I can see it in my notes. So I use practice management notes to be able to see exactly right here. It says, the white filling was denied on that, and the benefits the remaining is the patient's. So I put my notes in as I'm going so that it saves me the step of having to go pull an EOB and read the EOB and look at the EOB and explain the EOB to the patient who got one anyway.
Right, exactly.
So,
and it's very helpful for your team members too, because if you're on lunch or not in the office and someone calls with a billing question and they want to know, it's right in there, and you can say, oh, it looks like your insurance doesn't cover white fillings on back teeth, and that's why. So it makes it easier on your team for communication as well. So
exactly. Yep. And then you don't have to worry about scanning EOBs into SmartDoc or it makes it so much easier when they're accessible without having to access them.
And that's something that I don't know what I would. We're like an almost $3 million practice, so and that's adjusted production.
Yeah.
I don't see how practices can, we work for them, but to the time it takes to scan an individual EOB to each individual SmartDoc, just seems like a very inefficient use of time. Like we just scan all of ours. Since 2012, I can tell you, I have a file on my desktop and all of my EOBs are in there. If I ever need to find one, I just open the file of the day that I entered the payment, and looking through, 30 EOBs on a given day is a lot easier than scanning 30 EOBs into 30 different smart docs on a given day. So,
Yeah. And especially like the example you gave where you get this, Delta Dental and you got 30 people on one sheet.
right.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I just think it's a more efficient way to do it is to just do all of them when you're done entering your payments, scan them all into one file, name it the date you entered the payment, and have it backed up on your server, and you'll never lose them. You can throw them right in your shredder. You never have to worry about paper, and you can just find it digitally on your computer if you ever need to look back. So
Exactly. From your mouth to God's ears. Hopefully everybody else hears it too. So that's fantastic. So, well, I really appreciate you doing this with me, Melissa. And I miss seeing you guys. Tell everybody there I said hi.
Will do.
Thanks for everything.
Too.
And I'm sure that this will be one of those videos that everybody in the field guide will be like watching over and over again for tips and tricks.
Well, good. I hope it helps somebody out because we all want to make each other better. So
awesome. Thanks for your help.
All right. Thanks, Andre. Take care.
Thanks.
All right.